Back in there is Framlingham Castle. We just got a glimpse of this castle, but if I was back in that area, I would certainly plan on visiting it.
Kind
of
being washed by time. There's
roof
been some
redone.
effort in terms of some
with the village church in the back.
There you go.
This is Framlingham. We're going to Parham, which is 2.7 miles away.
Outskirts of the field. We'll see the tower just off in the distance here. Very haunting looking building when you come. It just kind of stands out in the mist a little bit. But in actuality, that is a wartime, what is called a T2 hangar. And a T2 hangar was used, each squadron had a T2 hangar, and it was used for heavy maintenance. The doors would part, they could probably get up to maybe 4 B-17s in there at a time. And there's our handsome host, Mr. Senior, right out in front.
This one base flew over 300 operations, which evidently is over 8,700 sorties.
He's the boss of the place, so come on inside, guys, where it's nice and warm.
In 1981, and it's a memorial to the young men who served here during the war and didn't get to go home. That you probably know that the 95th were here. They came from Northumbria where they'd had a really bad time. There'd been a horrible explosion, loading up bombs and so on. And they were based here and they did a number of missions. They were the first missions in their B-17s to be flown from here when the residential facilities weren't really that complete, but the air side, the ferry tracks, the taxiways and all that, and the runways were viable. And that was 2 months in May and June of 1943. 3,000 guys here, one of a lot of such bases in this part of the world. And I know you're visiting some of our friends probably at Parham and Thorpe Abbots and so on. And when children come, as they often do, to visit as part of an organised school party, I say we don't do lots of numbers and things, but just to remember one number if you want to, and that is the number 743, because 743, we now believe, of the young men who were flying, who were posted here, didn't get to go home, which is fairly typical, if I might say, of bases of this sort, because there was something like 3,000 guys here. Ground crews and others tended to be here for the duration. The air crews, if they did live to complete their missions, then they would have rotated back to the States or training or promotion or whatever happened to them. So there was something like 500 here.
Little air base. You see the planes spread out. I think they called that a dispersal field, so they're not all together. Good plan. We didn't think about that in Honolulu. This is a Morrison indoor shelter.
Just on the right along there before the road.
Morrison shelter, which was excavated from a bombed house, was found to have given way slightly under the pressure of the debris. Barely enough room for a person to sleep or a child. Had a little bit of supplies, but not much, and that's what it was. That was their bomb shelter. This is the shelter, and it functioned as a dining table. as well as a place to try to get protected from bombs, and they were hit by a bomb. And this, you can see, this is 2 layers. The whole family get in under there. Here's the rules that you follow during a blackout. Of course, we had blackout rules in California too, so I've been told. This shows a home out in the countryside. We hear about the bombings in London, but they had to be protected out here too, and they would get attacked. And here with the air base was more dangerous. Here's sandbags on the outside.
Yes, please do.
All the food scraps were collected to feed the pigs. The railings were removed. They were used for the metal. They could build things. Museum of the British Resistance Organization provides an insight into Britain's secret army, with artifacts housed in Nissen huts and a replica secret underground bunker. The museum aims to shed light on one of Britain's best-kept war secrets. During the war, Britain had its own underground resistance network made up of local men. These auxiliary units were trained in underground resistance should the country be invaded and occupied. Evidently, this is a bomb site beyond the airplane, and they could take all sorts of measurements and know exactly where they were headed. And here's some pictures. Kind of hard to figure that out, but they did. B-17 was known as a flying fortress. Picture of Framlingham Castle from the air, and this was during the war, and here planes are returning from a mission, and they would hone in on the castle. They knew the runway was just beyond. Here's an example of barracks. Here's the bathroom sinks. Here's the wonderful shower. It's just ducky. Over here's a couple of skinny cots.
And 1 bucket of coal a day, because we were severely rationed. So even these men who were,
One
in the
little
middle of the
stove
room,
over in the
and there's
corner.
a picture of them huddling around
18 bunks in here.
fire.
This is the chapel. It was located elsewhere, but they've moved it in here.
Have some bacon and have a cake. Yeah, we did have that.
This is all of the Americans who were captured from this particular bomb group, 1943 to 45. That is quite a list. Is an example of a week's ration. Week's basic ration, 4 ounces of bacon, 1 to 2 whatever pounds, I guess, worth of meat, 8 ounces of margarine and lard, 8 ounces of sugar, 3 ounces of cheese. The tea ration went up from 2 ounces to 2.5 ounces 1 year. Hen eggs were allocated as it became available. Non-priority adults could expect about 30 eggs a year. This is an anti-aircraft gun. I've been to the wonderful museum for the 8th Air Force near Savannah, Georgia. Was surprised to see this museum focuses specifically on the B-17s during the war, and it's near Tucson, Arizona. I found this information on their website.